Listen, it's fantastic feeling that all the hard work of the Ukrainian team that was with me on the ground and all the team that been here in US and UK, it's an achievement because for me, you know what, it's not about Oscars, it's about recognition by the top tier of professionals at the Oscar Academy, all the hard work that was done by all these fascinating teams in Ukraine, in US, and in UK. You know what, it was interesting because I was traveling through last week between all these events, and I was filming some other stuff that I'm doing right now, and I've been like Berlin, Prague, Amsterdam, and I landed at 2:30 afternoon in Vilnius, that was 5:30 in LA. I opened my cell phone, it was quiet, and then all of a sudden one of my friends called me from New York, and she was like screaming and yelling in the phone, and I was like, stop, can you explain what's happening? Yes, no. And then text, and it was, you know what, it was the moment that, you know what, I even not was jumping and something, I was trying to realize, is it true or not, or is it, you know what, everybody trying to pull my leg?
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what, let me give a call, try to call to LA, to Netflix, not been able to, and then I called to Ukraine, to my team actually, and they were the first ones whom I called and said, you know what, we are nominated. And then it was like a chain. You know what, it's interesting because if you will go to IMDb and trace what I do, almost all my movies, they have messages. Family, quality, unconditional love. I think unconditional love and family values you can see, or in documentary about the divorce. So it's all the time something different. Now, this is my third documentary, by the way, because first I did when I was 16 years old kid in Russia, in former Russia, and I literally did it on 16 millimeter camera that I still wants to find and to kind of, it's sentiment, because you know what, I belong still to the generation that not doing everything on a digital, but still had love to the original 35 millimeter film or 16 millimeter film.
You remember analog?
I remember analog. You know what? That in this movie, actually, sorry that I'm jumping, you have all formats. You have 4:3 that we literally is analog stuff, because all types of the phones were being able to have 4:3. There is some other 4:3 footage that I received, basically analog video stuff. And I have half standard definition and full half definition and full HD. So it's amazing how, again, go back to Ukraine, how the professionals in Ukraine, Kinotur specifically, they did amazing job matching everything, and on a big screen. Nobody in Toronto watching this in a cinema said, wow, it's standard definition that was blown to high definition, or it's a half HD blown to full HD. Nobody noticed that 2K projection was a mixture of different formats. So amazing job of the Ukrainian filmmakers, and that's what I said from the beginning, that for me, the Oscar itself, it's recognition of hard work and professional work of everybody. And it's also amazing to recognize that Ukrainian filmmakers can do job no less than American filmmakers, because you know what, most of the post-production, the picture, the DI stuff, color correction, sound stuff was all done in Ukraine. I went back because for me it was important that most of the stuff will be done there, because for them it was their heart and soul. You know what? Some technician here in the United States will do amazing job, but he will not put his heart and soul because he haven't been on Maidan. And for me, it was always important them. So going back to your question, why I did this, one of my friends who worked with me on a previous documentary about kids, he was working a lot in Russia and Ukraine. He was at some point ahead of one of the channels there. And he called me from there, from the first day, and said, come, let's try to film something because it's different maybe the movie will come. Nobody knew that it will, erupt this way. We were thinking that it will be, something like it's happened in 2004, so similar to Orange Revolution, but maybe not political. So he called me. I came. I think I came already on the 23rd. Because he called me on the first day. Next morning he called. Try to come. For me, I'm actually flexible. I'm famous for jumping into the plane and next day being somewhere else. Trust me. Like if I was for last week I was interrupting with you at the beginning. I was traveling through 1 week in 4 different countries. So I'm famous for all this stuff. So I jumped, came. It was what it was. It was festival. It was fun, and our camera operators, cinematographers, they captured stuff. And it was okay. I came for 2 weeks, and then when everything happens in the middle of night, next day, history is happening here, and I need to stay and I need to capture. And then it's kind of exposed more and more interesting, fascinating stories of the people. He was 12, but it was fascinating to observe him through the Maidan, because you don't have so much footage in the movie as much as I have, and I was following him through all the events. I actually have a short movie about him that we never exposed for like 14 minutes because I have a lot of footage. I showed him at the beginning, middle, and there is a lot of fascinating footage that how he maturing through these 93 days. That he's in Ato right now. He never went back home. His mom came, I think she was in March on Maidan, and she tried to get him back home, but he didn't want it to go. And he's right now in Ato. I think you can't be not emotional about what you see. For me, I can't watch the movie again and again. I stopped it. These days, even at the presentations, I'm trying to stay outside because for me, it's refreshing all memories. Remember, I knew Sergei Nigayan, I knew some people, and for me, whom we no longer having with us, and then I was interacting with the families. So for me, it's, it's something that tough, exactly like for you. Probably for me, it's much more 10 times bigger and in terms of difficulties, because I was cutting for 5 months, and rewatching this was even more and more tough. A lot of material went through my eyes, in front of my eyes, and I don't think that human nature can be so cold to watch this and not to have emotions, because at the end of the day, it's amazing human stories. It's amazing human stories that can be a great role models to a lot of young generation. It's amazing stories that can inspire people. How many times after the screenings, people were coming to me and saying, wow, they're so brave, they're so inspiring, I want to be with them. And I said, that's why I've been with them. That's why I stayed there, because I felt obligated to tell this story, being exposed to them, being surrounded by them. And it was amazing, because they're the real people who been there through the cold weather, through all these police beatings. All of us went through this horrible journey, but in the same time, amazing journey, because with all these bullets flying over the head, we had amazing music and art moments. So they've been human beings. It was a night in December when it was Ocean of Elsa concert, the famous band.
Okay, and Nezar, yeah.
Yeah. And it was exactly the team as it was at the beginning. And I will never forget, Titushki came cold and hungry from the Mariinsky Park, and protesters feed them, warm them, and all of them watch this together. And it was interesting to observe from the side how they all together enjoying the moment of art, the moment of culture, the human moment even. And then next day again, enemies. So it's amazing to observe how these people were so human and so united. You know what? A lot of times I was asked by the young guys here in the United States, are we united like this? And there is no answer, because they've been united in their achievement of their goal. Remember, they achieved their goal at the end of the Maidan. They achieved their winning situation. What's happening right now, it's another chapter of their fight for freedom. But their first chapter of fight for freedom, they achieved the goal just because of the unity. Unity of all nationalities, unity of all ages, unity of all social classes, unity of people with the church. Remember, never ever in the world we saw church on the side of the people on the front lines. I saw, when it's happened, on the 20th of February, I saw how the bullet went through one of the hats of the priest, and it was like this from his head, but he was there with them. He not got scared. He was there. And you know what? It's amazing unity between all faces of church together with the people, with all kind of different confessions. And this would blow my mind. This what made me to stay there and make this documentary. Because you know what? If to compare, let's say Arab Spring that happened before, and I'm familiar with the movie The Square that was also on Netflix, and Johan, whom I know very good, did about the Egypt. You know what? The betrayal of Muslim Brotherhood, the young generation who came to the square, was one of the elements. Because Brotherhood left the youth on the square, where they got beaten many times, where they left square. So here, they stood till the end, all together. This unity proved that together people can achieve goals. And you know what? And this was very important elements for me to show these human people that came out to voice themselves because they believe in something better, because they believed in a better future, because they realized that their future in their hands and they're the only one that can bring change, and they achieved this. Together they achieved this. So for me, it was like a fascinating sample to bring to the world. I think that's why I guess I did this documentary. But also I will tell you something else. For me, I think it's not a Ukrainian story. It is a universal story, because you know what? We both live in, listen, you're Canadian, yes?
Yes.
I'm American. Now, for American people, I think it's educational for the younger generation, because younger generation can see what is real price of the values that we live in here: democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and what was values that the founding fathers of the United States stood for. So it's amazing sample to show them what it means to be patriot. That you don't need to be born in this country specifically to be a patriot. You can be a patriot in your heart and soul. I'm talking about Evgeny Afineevsky, who not born in Ukraine, but gave his life for the future of Ukraine. He not had kids, but he believed in better future. Zhizhnevsky, Verbitsky. Zhizhnevsky was Belarusian. So it's important elements that you can learn from this movie, and they're universal. You know what? I've been in Vilnius. You asked me where I was when I got the announcement. You know why I've been in Vilnius? I've been invited to participate in 25th of anniversary of the event that similar to Maidan that happened in 1991 in Vilnius, where Russian soldiers killed a lot of people, also civilians. So Maidan and events in the movie, they're relevant to a lot of people. They're refreshing in their memories things. They are showing what it means to be unity, what it means to be together and achieve bigger goals. It means a lot to a lot of people these days, and it can be educational. So that's why I think for me, it was important to bring these stories because they're universal. You know what? First of all, my personal American BlackBerry was hacked. And you know what? It was strange because usually BlackBerries are much more secure than iPhones. And you know what? It was also a message inside of KMDA that was placed next to the main door that was advising to the people when they live in Maidan to take the battery out and to wrap stuff in a foil paper. And if you don't have foil paper, to ask it from security because it was recommended because phone have GPS. Even you switch it off, he still can be a traceable device. So since a lot of kidnapping happened, since a lot of people were disappearing, and particularly that it was a hunt to the Maidan activists. American Embassy advised me from the beginning to be very cautious there, since I'm American citizen. Yeah. But I have Russian background. And you know what? To my luck, Russian FSB immediately noticed me on Maidan. I got calls, I got stuff on my cell phone too. I was exposed to FSB because of my previous movies that I was presenting in Russia. So they were also after me when I was in Maidan. So I had a very strong precautions from the beginning. I know that the girls from Spilna Bachna tried not to expose me because everybody were afraid and we were advised about that. Only on the later stages I kind of been more active. But in the first stages, I was advised to be very kind of low-key profile in order to avoid, because you know what, at the beginning nobody knows where it's going. Yeah. Only on the later stages people started to understand that it's going to be end and it's going to be very close somewhere. So it's, you know what, I kind of suffered all these stories with FSB even through the last year in 2015. Every time I went to Ukraine, I had a kind of calls on my cell phone from them. So it's, you know what, it's a pity that, you know what, two major countries are struggling with all these things right now. And that I, as American, but even I'm former Russian, that I not feel secure. I've been in Vilnius right now. I was surrounded by the security police because we just didn't want it to fall into any situation that I can be exposed right now. I don't want to be another Oleg Sentsov, and you know what, whom I met him there. And you know what, for me, I'm proud to be American, that I have my freedom of speech, freedom of expression, because Oleg, who started to film stuff in Crimea, was prosecuted for terrorism. And you know what, it's horrible being filmmaker and being accused of something that you're not doing and not allowed to be free with your freedom of expression. Who American filmmaker, I'm proud that Netflix allowed me to say what I wanted to say about Maidan and exposed my story to entire world, to what right now, 190 countries. And it's important for me to be American filmmaker that allowed to do things in a democratic society, exactly for what values the people in Maidan stand. Listen, it is citizen journalism what they were doing, but I'm a filmmaker, and I try to be a gap, a bridge between citizen journalism, traditional media, and characters that I found in Maidan, with whom I met, with whom I've been there. Because remember, I guess they trusted me because they saw me through all these periods being with them. So they trusted me because I am outsider. I am a complete outsider. I don't have any ties with Ukraine. So I guess they trusted me because they saw me on their side through all these events. And I guess I was exactly this cinematic bridge who've been able to translate it to the cinematic language, all the traditional things, and citizen journalism. Because you had 3 channels involvement here. It was Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, it was Espresso, and Fifth Channel. Because, you know what, to give the major picture, to paint the major picture around Maidan, around these events, particularly that the movement was growing with every day from the beginning, you needed to have a lot of eyes. And having even so many filmmakers on the ground who voluntarily brought the footage, who voluntarily wanted to tell their stories through their eyes about Maidan. And you still needed to have some footage like surveillance cameras that Channel 5 helped me with, and some other stuff. So it was like from inside Rada, this is from there, or footage with Yanukovych or Azarov before. Basically, it is about combination, and I think all these elements helped me to put the puzzle together that paints the complete picture that can be able to tell the complete story from A to Z. And in the same time, I guess I, as a filmmaker, because I'm not a journalist, I'm a filmmaker, I found through this journey the characters like Romka that people can relate and relate across the globe. Remember, Romka, it's a Gavroche. It's a Gavroche from Victor Hugo's story. It's a Gavroche from French Revolution story, or we can say Les Mis as the famous musical. You know what? And there is a lot of fascinating characters that people in the world can relate. And I think this was my kind of stuff that I found these relatable characters, internationally related characters, we can say, and put it together through the cinematic language to create this bridge between citizen journalism, traditional media, and the characters together that telling the story through their eyes for being there. So altogether, it's became this fascinating movie. I still recovering from that. I think all my crew still recovering from that because all of us still living Maidan. And it is draining. It is emotionally draining. I remember that during the editing process, I had moments that I was taking a break and just trying to escape from Maidan memories, and it was tough. It's draining because, you know what, it's human people, it's human stories, and it's human lives. Some lives are no longer with us. But we, as filmmakers, we have an obligation to tell these stories. You know what? I feel that I, as an American filmmaker, have a choice and a chance. My choice to choose the stories. My chance to tell these stories to entire world. To allow these voices from Maidan to be heard by entire world. And I think it's amazing thing for me being filmmaker and telling these stories, universal stories. I'm working right now on some other stories of some other people who can't voice themselves, but I can do this for them. Yeah. And sometimes it's for the people who no longer with us. You know what? I think for the Sergei's family, it's amazing to see their son alive in the movie. It's hard. I spoke with them recently, but it's at least gives them a memory of their son alive. It's a real life monument to all of these people. I think it's a memories that will live after me, after them, but it's something that will live for the centuries. Because you know what? The movie essentially, it's something that can live centuries. It's like a monument, you know what? The movie is the monument that can live centuries. It's something that we're creating, and in different media, you know what? It was 35, then it became VHS, then it became DVD, then it became digital medium. And all the time, it's transitioning from one to another. But it's a sculpture, cultural sculpture that changing the lives and living for the centuries. I sent when I was there, when Maidan ended and we were working on the rough cut, I called to my friends to United States. And listen, I live in the US for last 15, 16 years. And I have extensive connections. And I did a lot of movies. And I was awarded before. So I have a lot of friends who are in the industry with whom I worked. So I called to a couple of my friends who worked with Netflix. And I asked them to show it to HBO, to Netflix, to Magnolia, to Radius, to Participant, to main kind of outlets that are working with this stuff. I guess the Netflix was the fastest one in terms of response to that. they also amazing team that supporting documentaries, starting from Ted Sarandos, who a big supporter of documentaries, to Lisa Nishimura, to Adam Del Deo. So my best friend, Lati Grobman, whom I know because of my Israeli background, because Lati is also Israeli, who was born in Russia. So we both kind of went through this journey, Russia, Israel, and United States, and we both filmmakers. So I spoke with Lati, and I said, Lati, can you show it to friends? And she said, yeah, just send me rough cut. So I called to Lati, I sent her the first rough cut, and immediately after a week, Lati said, come back to US, let's sit with them. They're interested. So this is how it happens. And Lati also helped to bring on board another friend, John Bacek, who is 3 times Oscar-winning, amazing British documentary producer. So all together we met with Netflix in 2014, and together we literally decided that we need to make more wider story. Wider because the first draft cut was more Ukrainian version. I guess I not was so much objective being on the ground and not able to tell some elements of the story like history before. For me, I knew the history of Ukraine. Americans didn't. So this was missing. The understanding why people came to the square, for me it was so obvious. For the American audience, not. Or for Western audience. I can't specifically say American because you know what? Yeah, the story in the media during Maidan not was exposed to the Western audience enough. It was exposed in Europe, but not was exposed on our side here. So Netflix said, you have a task to make it more wider so everybody who don't know anything, like zero, about the story in Ukraine can learn it, understand it. This was my task. And I, Lati, and John, we decided to approach Angus Wall, who was a fascinating editor, 2 Oscars for Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, Social Network. But what was important with Angus, he was combination editor and producer. He produced Errol Morris's documentaries before. And Errol Morris is the big documentarian. So Angus produced documentaries. And this was important for me. So we approached Angus. Angus said, I'm ready. I love it. Trust me, like you teared, he was crying so many times through the rough cut. He said, I want to help you to tell this story. It's something that I feel that need to be told. It's something that need to be told because it have universal appeal. And he said, I will help you to find the right editor, and I will help you to reshape the image to the wider audience. And he brought on board amazing editor Will Snidarik. He brought on board amazing Patrick Clare, who did this fascinating graphic story at the beginning. Yeah. And Patrick is, I think, Emmy-winning graphic producer, amazing person. And all this team together, we started to work. Then I brought another person whom I approached when I was on Maidan. I called him before from Maidan, and I asked him to write some music, Jasha Kleber, who worked with Hans Zimmer. Listen, the biggest of the industry. Young guy who wanted to do something emotional because he always was writing emotional pieces for Captain Phillips, Dark Knight. So he wanted to do something on his own. And you know what? So team was growing. Exactly like he was growing on Maidan this every day. Yeah. My team in America was growing. And you know what? And it became a fascinating story. And Netflix was just observing this and saying, guys, hats off. You're doing a great job. And I was enjoying that studio not telling me what to do, but just saying, congrats, you're doing a great job. And it was amazing to have their support, you know what? And this is how the movie basically happens. Now, I always put in parallel between Maidan movement and the combination of my team, because you know what? Only with the unity of everybody and togetherness, Maidan won. Yeah. Only because of the same combination, unity of all people that came to me on Maidan, and togetherness of the crew, that everybody were putting their heart and soul into that. All kind of together, we created this movie. So it's their achievement. It's achievement of my guys in Maidan. It's achievement of my team here in UK, because I was editing also in UK, having Jinx Godfrey, another Oscar-winning editor, consulting us. Or Edwin Morton, who is a big violin player in Europe, who born in Ukraine, but he's Hungarian. And he came, brought amazing Stradivarius violin, and he was performing for Jasha when they were recording live strings, live orchestra for the movie. So it was collaborating on everybody who was feeling the pain and the same time who achieved their goal. It was the pride for the Ukrainians. It was inspiration for what we saw there. And you know what? People achieved their goal. They achieved by winning the Maidan. We achieved by creating this story that people every day enjoy seeing on Netflix. You know what? I not have in a documentary world specific directors. Of course, I have mentors in Hollywood, but they are not directors. I have actually different ones. Like Angus is amazing mentor, and he was amazing mentor for me. I have amazing person whom I know for like literally 9 years is David Dinerstein, who also helped a lot with this movie. He's more brilliant producer and studio executive and marketing guru, because this guy discovered Tarantino and Kevin Smith and Sofia Coppola. Because of him, world learned about Pulp Fiction when he was working for Harvey. This guy gave to the world amazing bursts of Paramount Classics and Fox Searchlight. He created these studios, and he's a best friend. And he's, you know what? Today my day started with his call at 8:30 in the morning. Evgeny, how you doing? How was yesterday meeting with some people with whom he said? And he's a best friend. You know what? It's important to have such friends. You know what? To have, you know what? It's not because they have some interest in you. It's because they believe in your talent. Yeah. I have Angus and John and Lati, who, like, for example, Lati was texting me yesterday, brainstorming about our next steps. She's an amazing supporter because she believed in this documentary from the day I sent it to her. Angus, who is a great mentor and supporter, who was with me and Will through the editing process, kind of calibrating our visions, how to make it more wide and telling the story with the proper pace, not to fall into kind of different situations. I guess as the role model director, for me, always been Steven Spielberg. And I can tell that he's a mentor because I know him, I met him many times, but I'm not working close with him at these particular days as I'm working with David or with Angus or with Lati or with John. But in the same time, for example, I have amazing Mark Travis, who was my mentor in a directorial world, and he taught me specific techniques that helping me in directing, that helps me to go through emotional roller coaster with all my characters. So, and Mark was recently at my screening, and he was like using a lot from his technique that helping me to assemble things. So it's amazing to have supporters, and it's amazing to have people who helping you, who see talent, and who helping to achieve the dreams. And I think it's very valuable to me, and I'm so thankful having all of them in my life. And you know what? I'm thankful for my Ukrainian team. You know what? Yesterday I spent like hours talking to them about. I have a huge team that coming from Ukraine in the next couple of weeks to be with me here for the Oscars. So it's for me, it's an honor to have them here. It's an honor to finally that they will meet Netflix team and my rest of my team that worked in the movie, and for them it will be finally kind of to reunite with who been on this side, and my American team will see who been with me through the whole Square journey. So it's gonna be good. I will shock you. We ended with 15 terabytes of footage. 15 terabytes of footage. Yeah. Actually, first 1.5 months when we were doing a rough cut, we were working 24/7. I was sleeping in the office, Lena was sleeping in the office, Galia was sleeping in the office, Kostya was sleeping in the office. We had 3 editors and assistant editors. We were doing 24/7 shifts just to accomplish this because it was 15 terabytes. And then, like I said, it's another 3.5 months additional editing just to finalize the movie here. So it was a long process. And I guess if I not was doing this 1.5 months, 24 hours shifts, so it was taking a year to create all this. The idea of DVD is coming, I think, in 2017 only, because the movie is still gonna be circling awards for this year. It's still IDA, it's still Emmys, it's still some other awards. So the movie will come on DVD only in 2017, I think. Also, I don't think that you will have 3-hour cut from me. But what you will have additional mini movies like Romka, because like I said, I have at least terabyte footage of Romka, because he did a lot of stuff. Yeah. He did a lot of amazing stuff. His stories are fascinating, and you know what? You can literally follow how he was maturing, and it's amazing to observe all this. So I either maybe expose this movie this year through the festivals, or maybe we'll screen it on a TV also, the short, because it's 14 minutes short that we did on him. But probably what we will do as additional material, I will try to do a single stories on various subjects, because there is a lot that can be told about this kind of unity or collaboration between the old churches and the people there. Because you know what, it's amazing to see something like this. For me, being born in Russia, I never saw that religion is on the side of the people. Usually, it's an instrument that is on the side of the government, helps to control people.
Like
even right now, all the drama on the European side is the ISIS, this the independent Syria, all this ISIS thing, Eagles thing. You know what? It's all about religion. And here we have religion with the people. That was amazing. And I think I can do separate stories on after Maidan, medics. This maybe I will do a small short movies, because you know all of them deserve recognition. And sometimes when you're cutting the movie, you need to do it in a specific time frame that you know that it's not will make people tired or boring, or you know what, tired of watching. But you know what, we achieved the goal that people enjoy being able to capture in this hour and 40 minutes. But in the same time, there is a stories. There is a small story about Romka. There is a small story about each of the segments that can be done. So probably this will be additional stuff on DVD that I probably want to tell. I will tell you something. I don't want to be an activist that only talking about that. Yeah. Because if I will go right now in a story about, you know, a part 2 about Crimea, and I have footage. Crimea or Boeing or Donetsk airport, we have footage also. Because my team of Ukrstream went immediately to Ato. So I have all this. Or Mariupol, or Ilovaiskiy Kotel. But you know what? I don't want to become only a person who advocates for them, because there is so many stories in the world about people who fall into injustice or whose voices need to be kind of brought out to the world. So I'm right now in a completely different world, in a completely different story that I'm shooting in Europe, and I'm trying to give a chance to voice something else. So, like I said, I think you can't just focus. There is a lot of also another filmmakers that I need to allow to do things, because I just can't their bread and be only on their territory. Yeah. I can't. There is so many fascinating filmmakers in Ukraine that wants to tell other stories, and I want them to tell their stories. So I just told this story, and I'm moving to something else, to some other parts of the world, to some different amazing stories of the world. So I want others to tell their stories. There is amazing filmmakers that did movies about Donetsk airport. There is amazing stories that doing stories about Maidan from different angles. There is amazing people that doing stuff about Crimea. So they need to tell their stories through their views, and you know what? They need to be recognized too. You know that I got first award because of you guys. It was Audience Awards in Toronto. Yeah. You are the ones who gave to this movie the first award. You know what? I guess I should bring it. I should show it here. You want? Yeah. Just a second. I will bring you and I will show you what I received from Toronto.
Okay.
This beautiful reel came from Toronto Film Festival, and I received it because of the amazing, amazing community that united together and made us to receive this People's Choice Award, People's Choice Award for the best documentary at the Toronto Film Festival. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.